Apparently, me telling him that he was a good friend is a bad day for him.
Yeah,
so.
Morella like said
God,
goodbyes,
that
right?
bad.
Yeah, said goodbyes and hugged him, warmly and not in any way mean. So, also
it was strange new territory, so I just kind of panicked.
You make me out to be like a cruel woman, but really it was your poor choice.
It's not a question of it. You keep
No!
on acting like you're the fucking nicest person in the goddamn world. You're not.
No, that's Aelin, but that's not the point.
Not wrong.
You're not even remotely nice.
Okay, says the Hannibal.
Yes, says the Hannibal.
He would know evil.
Yeah, true. But, you know, he's also a great liar, so...
He's not wrong.
Me?
oops.
Yes.
I'm a fantastic liar. Have you seen my score?
That is, he was just saying that you were a fantastic liar. This is not a point that we disagree on.
Oh, that said you weren't. Okay.
No.
Essentially, Jericho, you have remained quite silent.
Yeah, that's fair.
You
That's
found
fair.
because you have a good insight roll, you were used to find the pirate captain lady to control the mercenaries, and that's about it.
That sounds about right. And I see we have picked up George on a semi-permanent basis.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. He's one of your named NPCs. I mean, it's probably good because so you remember what I said last time about how like bringing people back in this setting
is gonna have impact.
Yeah, has some impact. If he begins to show any signs of weirdness, you'll at least be contained. So it's probably beneficial to you to keep him around.
I mean, think about it this way. You'll have 2 paladins with you.
It's true, because Daniela's also going. So.
Yeah. And she's
well,
the one
3.
of Mercy, so if anything...
3, so Morella's also going.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm going out on the longest of long shots here. I don't suppose I've heard anything from Mel.
Oh God.
Oh Jesus.
Serious, why don't you tell him about a little bit about hearing from Mel?
I've clearly hit some kind of critical point, but I don't know if it's good or bad. What is this reaction about?
This is what we're talking about.
Yeah, this was the other part of Farron's bad day.
Oh my.
Farron received a letter.
Sad, miserable bastard.
Farron received a letter from Mel detailing about how much fun she had last night with him.
I got date raped by Mel.
Listen, the drugs were only included afterwards.
Oh, so they hooked up and then she amnesia'd him in the aftermath.
Correct.
Yep.
At least that's what's implied. She told Farron that her heart has always belonged to another, and perhaps in the next life they would meet sooner.
So I haven't heard anything from Mel. Look, bad stuff happens to Farron. If we slowed down to mourn it every single time, we'd still be in null.
God, I admire your savagery so much, Liam.
It's absolutely barbaric. Oh my god.
Should I just commit seppuku and be done with all of this?
But Farron, you're already dead inside.
I don't bear any ill will against Farron. I like Farron.
Yeah,
The
I like
world
Farron.
is the one that
Accepted the
bears
fact
ill
that
will
he's
against
going
Farron.
to be tormented.
Yeah. And also Farron had decided that the Bear Riders were probably better used at helping clear out the rest of the city / preparing for the massive army, because it was kind of realized that like killing Anders is no guarantee that this massive host of chaos goes away.
Yep, fair point.
So Farron has set himself to thinking about that, but also was reminded of his vision with this letter of the one that he may or may not love, dead upon the marble steps, all of her blood drained from her body.
We can cure that.
Actually true.
I don't know if Farron knows that, though.
Well, Farron should have more faith in... What are they calling you? The Most Holy?
Yep, the most holy one.
Stop
The
Yeah,
most divine.
yeah, that one.
It-
The
all
most
of those,
divine.
all of those are completely reasonable.
Yeah, no. We should all have accepted by now that life and death are meaningless to the hella sacred Ash River.
Indeed.
Okay. Thank you for the recap.
No
Sorry
problem.
I'm late.
No, that's totally fine. You said you had family and stuff going on this weekend, so
Yep.
One last final note is that is probably important to you, especially to you actually. Now that I realize it, there was some implication from Cahill that while there were initial reports, like while they were traveling, that the Count Tolban was dead and his head was on a pike. He's yet to have any of that confirmed yet. As well, any of the leadership from Middenheim has not yet been confirmed actually dead or missing.
Yeah, that's why I'm going
So-
to do a thing.
Yeah, he has reasonable suspicion at this point that it is possible, considering that the rest of the city was kind of being kept intact, that the leadership might also have been kept intact in some manner.
Interesting.
So the infiltration
we might
group
have to find
has the infiltration group has a secondary mission besides infiltrating, which is determine whether or not determine the trueness of that, and
Okay,
perhaps gain additional resources for the final assault on the palace.
Okay. In response to that information, I think one thing that Jericho would want to do would be go around checking with the orders of magic to see if anyone is a capable enough diviner that they might be able to scry on the location of any of the city leadership.
Yo.
So perhaps you relay your idea to Hannibal, who had messaged me about 20 minutes ago asking if he could do that.
High five.
Yeah,
So-
high five.
The
Bam.
bromance is real.
Yeah, no. The bromance is like maybe you ask Hannibal, like, do you know anybody that might be able to do it? And he just like, yeah, I can do it. Let's go.
Let's fucking do
Yeah,
it.
and you said that I could get a short rest in. I
Yeah,
can do this
yeah,
and
yeah,
get a short
absolutely.
rest in.
Because remember, it's going to take till sundown for the mercenaries to all be. Because the problem is, so the thing is, what was given to Jocelyn was essentially like however much gold she needs to negotiate with all the mercenaries to work for her, right? Like that was the payment. With the coffers of the Empire at his beck and call, Cahill decided that was an okay deal, but it's going to require negotiation for all those mercenaries to get paid like that. So, yeah.
Mhm.
So Hannibal, you head off to with Jericho. Now, Scrying has some significant requirements, right?
Yes. Well,
right.
I
Yeah,
have them
exactly.
right here.
With Jericho.
So here's how it works. Like I roll. They have to roll to save. It can fail. It can fail its save voluntarily if it wants to be observed.
Yep.
But that's only if they know I'm casting it, so it doesn't really apply here. But so basically, if there are some modifiers that happen, so they get a +5 if I've heard the target. They get nothing if I have met him, and they have -5 if I know them well. If I have a likeness or a picture, they have -2. Possession or garment -4, or body part or lock of the hair is -10.
Right.
So
So-
I've never met him.
Yeah.
So basically, who I'm planning on doing, I'm planning to do that dude and Anders, because I have a picture of Anders, and
Mhm.
I have I'm
Surely,
familiar.
surely somewhere we could get like. There's got to be a picture or someone who has met the guy can sketch whoever it is we're looking for.
All right, sure. If you want to take the time to look for it, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to find somebody who's seen Count Tolban before, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
let's do that. Can we roll?
Yeah,
Uh,
Jericho will go asking people around.
Yeah. So there's a lot more locals that are available to you right now.
Presumably
I think
nobility
that-
is what we're going to want.
Yeah, so I think that you know what, maybe even your best bet is going to be what is her name? I always forget her name. Not Tolsbeck, but the other one. Because there's actually a Schwinn. Thank you.
Swing.
Except I lied. It is Lady Tolsbeck. But yes, it is Lady Schwinn. You're absolutely correct. Lady Tolsbeck, remember, she's a noble from this area.
Yeah,
She was
so-
under the umbrella of Middenheim. She wasn't directly inside the city, but she might be able to describe him well enough. But I think that in this
Could I,
case,
like,
what I want
channel
is
her into the spell.
what do you mean?
It's just I don't know. Like I was just thinking, could I like make her a part of the spell? Like use her knowledge.
She has no innate magic herself. Maybe if she did, she might be able to help out.
Okay, I wasn't sure what class.
But yeah, she's not a she's a commoner class.
I'll make sure to call her such.
Uh,
Yeah, that sounds like hell will die.
So I think that, how do you want to approach this, Jericho? Would you like to try and I think investigation is probably the best thing here, even though it is like she's willing to cooperate, so it's not like a charisma check of any sort. It's knowing the questions to ask, like knowing how to guide her through the steps to make a sketch, or at least have someone sketch it. Now,
Okay.
Jericho,
Yep.
you have that ink and quill actually is a thing that you have, though, that is magical. It is
Do I have any idea what it does yet?
Yeah, so it was identified.
Cool.
It is a dictator quill, which means that when you dictate to it, after assigning some sort of command word or magic to it,
Right.
it will like write down what you say. Perhaps you could use it in this. It's to like help you in this manner somehow.
I suppose it's only writing, it won't draw what I describe.
I mean, you could. The attempt could be made to modify it in some way.
Interesting.
To
Well,
like maybe
Jericho's-
mess with the
Jericho
magic that's in.
May
on
not
it.
have like proficiency with, I don't know, a paintbrush or whatever, but he's an artistic type. He could try
Yeah.
to make a decent sketch himself, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
Can I assist him in this
Yeah,
investigation?
absolutely. You can have advantage on an investigation roll,
Yeah.
Cool.
Jericho, to just ask the right questions. Use your intelligence to coax out the right things that you need to see if you can get a likeness. It's a good advantage.
Whew.
You only have +4.
Yeah,
One
most
of
of my
Jericho's
skills
weaker
are not
skills.
proficient.
Yeah, that's that's
Possibly
a +7
all of
on mine.
So a 19 is good. You have a good quality sketch of what Count Tolban looks like. It certainly will apply for your purposes, Hannibal.
Okay, so that means he only gets a -1.
3.
So no.
Because you haven't
Because
met him?
I haven't met him. That's -5, but I have a likeness of him, which is +4.
I thought it was 2. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, wait. Possession. You're right. It's -2. My bad. Yeah, 3.
Okay. Now,
Sorry, this is now just to be clear on this. This is who you're trying to scry on?
yes,
I'm trying to scry on the Duke.
the count.
Duke,
Yeah,
the Count
Duke.
what?
Counts of Middenheim.
Yeah, Count Tolban, who's the Count of Middenheim.
Tolbin. Okay.
And
Unrelated
also
to
with- Then I'm going to try to scry on Anders.
Yeah.
who is going to
Okay.
be significantly harder. But he has
Well, you've met him.
Anderson. Yeah. So wait, I mean, does this mean that since we've done all this, could he count as familiar?
I think I would leave that for the dice to decide. Why don't you roll me a charisma saving throw? Charisma saving throw.
Visions of him.
Yeah. I think charisma saving throw to know like if that is something that you know well at this point.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. A 25 is high enough to you know him well by this point. At least you know his likeness well, right? Like his motives and what he does are kind of hard, but you know his likeness well.
I know his man, what he is as a man.
Correct.
So that means that he has to beat a 24.
Okay. So I'm gonna roll
but-
for Count Tolbin first.
Yes, he needs to beat a 15.
And it is what type of save? Can you click the button for me just so I can see it on the screen?
He needs to beat a
Wonderful picture.
So good.
wait, no, he needs to beat a 14.
14. Okay, and his wisdom, you said?
Let me just see here. Sorry. Yes, wisdom.
He's not great at these. Nope. So your first scrying attempt, you sit down with the likeness that Jericho has drafted up for you, and you have a crystal, right? That's your focus, your 1,000 gold focus, right? It's that crystal that you got off that merchant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a crystal, and I think it does that thing where like it kind of does the hypnotizing thing where it waves back and forth, right? And you get to know the low. What you see, your particular creature chooses the same plane of existence. Yeah. So you get to actually like see where it is, right?
Yes.
So through the crystal, your vision kind of blurs, and you're plunged into blackness. And for a moment, it takes you a second to get your bearings, and you hear very heavy, ragged breathing. Just. And you can hear this this kind of light clink of chains, and I think that as you kind of observe, you pan around the room, right? You can see that there's a large pillar that kind of is in the middle, large stone pillar, and you're still like cast in blackness. You can tell that wherever this is cast in blackness. But you begin to make out the very vague visage of a man, a very strong, burly man with a big beard and very ragged, greasy hair that falls far too long to be considered prudent anymore. And you see that his arms are raised above his head, and you realize that he is chained to this large pillar. And his shirt is stripped away, and you can see that there is actually there's actually a set of is it runes or writing? Hold on, let me just double check here. Individual. Yeah, so you see there's a set of designs on the that kind of cross from the right pectoral over onto the right bicep, and also traces down the right thigh as well, and they look like they're these little angled, almost like boxes or squares that kind of trace him.
Eyes of the Ruin Keeper.
You see that that the individual has the only clothing that kind of remains to him is a fur cloth that kind of drapes around his from around his midriff down kind of to about his knee level. And you can see that tossed to the side there is a large cloth that looks like it's meant to be worn as kind of like a headdress / cloak, and I think that you see that it is the top jaw and face of a large white wolf.
Okay.
As you pan around the room, you see that there is a door that has a small little slit in it, and you can see kind of like flickering light almost as, like maybe torchlight or firelight of some sort. And I think that is kind of the imagery that you see.
Okay, what's written on his chest?
So it's not writing. It's like a design. It's almost like a tattoo.
Oh, okay. I was thinking my eyes are the rune
Yeah,
keeper.
think of it like think of it kind of like a tribal tattoo almost.
Okay, and in that case, I'm just gonna. So, does it look like he's in a cell?
Yeah, that's a pretty good guess.
Yeah, so he's in a cell with a pillar in it.
I think that the most important thing here is that he's alive, right? Like that's
without that, this is a huge. I'll tell Cahill about it in a bit after I spy on Anders or try to, and but yeah, no, he's alive. He's obviously somewhere with the dungeon, so he's probably in the palace. Yeah, he's alive.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna let this duration run out. Stick around as long as I can. Maybe see if somebody comes in. Or
yeah. How long is the
10
duration?
minutes.
10 minutes. Let me pull something. Nope. Nothing happens while you're there. You just hear the continued ragged breathing. Probably you hear that there are voices outside, but it's too dim or too far away or too muffled to make out what they're saying. So the presence of other individuals outside of this room are there, but not enough for you to really discern what's going on out there.
All right. So after that's finished, then I come out of it. Now on Anders.
Okay. Do you say anything before you just begin scrying in for Anders?
No.
Right.
There's going to be a lump sum thing.
So he comes out and just like yeah, Jericho, like do you say anything before he just continues casting another spell?
So what did you find? I assume by the time I finish that sentence, he's gone again.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so Anders has to beat a 24.
24, and he gets advantage against this. Now, what I didn't tell you before, Hannibal, is he has been immune for some time to this. So now is the only time you actually have the chance at actually getting. Because there are ways to hide from scrying, but
yes,
he doesn't have a significant spellcaster casting that spells on him every day anymore. Doesn't matter.
Fuck me. So I'm immediately booted out of that.
Yeah, again, you like you don't even get anything on it really.
Beastly.
Yeah, so I come out of it and I turn to him. The Count's alive.
Well, that's... Where is he? What are they doing with him?
Well, he's in a cell, probably being tortured.
You went back in there for a second. What happened? Did they try to shake
Let's
you
not
with the
talk
spell? Did
about
they realize... Hannibal, that nothing ever good has happened after you say that.
Yeah, well. So he's alive.
So do you think... All right, where? What did you know? What do you know apart from him being alive?
He's most likely in the palace. In some type of dungeon. Chained to a pillar.
So, Jericho, you would know this. You wouldn't have to necessarily roll.
Cool.
You know that the Palace of Middenheim doesn't contain dungeons. And the reason that it doesn't contain dungeons is that all people are judged summarily when they arrive. And judgments are either carried out by being tossed into the abyss or being set free.
That's an efficient system. All right. So Jericho.
However, you do know that there is a basement portion of the keep,
which you could sort of improvise into a dungeon, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Right. So Jericho will relay that to Hannibal. They don't keep prisoners in the palace. That
Yeah, that'd be kind
more
of weird.
efficient than that. But they could just chain someone up in the basement, I suppose. I mean, there's still portions of the city that we haven't really pushed into yet. It's not impossible that he's somewhere else.
I suppose the important thing to take away from this is that he's alive.
Yes, that's good to know. That should motivate people. Good
Mhm.
news. I'm excited about good news. And
Yes.
they don't know that you were scrying on him?
No.
Would he know?
He
Yeah. So,
doesn't know.
yeah. So it's very hard
Okay.
to. I think it's actually. I think you don't. You specifically don't get to find out if somebody is scryed upon you unless it
That's
fails.
right.
Right.
Let me see.
Oh,
Oh,
it just isn't affected. Yeah. No. So it's pretty foolproof in its
Okay.
application.
Yeah, I had to take a look for a second because Anders might have known that I tried to scry on him.
Yeah, that was what I was going for.
I'm not telling you that I tried to scry on Anders.
Yeah, no.
I'm not
I'm
going to
just
let
being
my failure be
helpful.
known.
Yes, nothing that you bury will ever come back to bite you.
Yeah, bring up that house, please.
Yeah. No, I was already on it.
I mean, I was just going for the nothing that you bury will ever come back to bite you thing because, we've been dealing with necromancers.
That's right. See, this has
wordplay.
never
Yeah,
haunted me.
You get it. Oh,
I feel nothing when I see this picture anymore.
Ooh, I almost moved you off
you
to the
become
wrong
numb
screen.
to it. Fantastic. Well, let's relay that, and now we have another goal, but at least it's something we can still achieve. But why are they keeping them alive?
Didn't he look like he was? He looked like he was being tortured, right?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't look good. He had the telltale signs of being a prisoner for some time in ill conditions.
So he looked more like he'd just been kept there rather
Maybe,
than
yeah,
actively tortured.
locked away and thrown away the key. Probably is more sufficient than tortured.
Yeah, they look. Was there any food plates around him?
Not that you saw.
So he hasn't eaten since this fucking thing started.
Could be.
So he is in dire straits right now.
Yeah, maybe.
You're not here, Morana.
No. Me as the player, I am.
Well, I don't think we can move any faster than we already are, but I'll report that to Cahill. He can decide how best to motivate his troops with that info. Anything else you want to scry on? Any other sketches you need?
No. I'm out of no one to scry on. There's no one I can think of.
Fantastic. Well then, you just rest and do whatever it is that you do to recover your magical capacity.
That's right. All I need to recover is one spell slot.
I don't. Yeah, okay. Thanks, Doctor.
Just
Sorry,
one.
Professor.
That's right.
So, I do want to go back to Farron briefly, who was somewhat left to wallow in his misery.
Mm-hmm.
Does Farron's plan change at all? Doesn't have to.
No, I don't think it does. I think this letter is clearly saying that, hey, you're never going to be anything more to me. So long, farewell, thanks for all the fish.
Yeah. That certainly seemed that way.
That was a good one.
So yeah, I think I just do the thing that most people would do and drive myself into my work to stop thinking about the cruelty of life and everything that's in it.
Poor Farron.
At least you have a friend, Farron.
Yeah, he goes to see Arcadi.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
God damn it.
I've done nothing but being bracing and warming. This is how I get treated. But now it's okay.
So back to Kree, I think, for a brief moment. So you're coordinating the foot soldiers, right? The foot soldier lizardmen.
Yes.
Yeah, and as you're kind of forming them up and kind of detailing the plan, what are you still with Noct? Is Noct still with you?
Yes, Noct is still with me.
Okay.
I can't let him out of my sight, this little bastard.
Oh yeah, by the way, Jericho, Noct ate a humanoid.
Humanoid?
Debatable, no one saw him do
all
it.
we saw was a leg.
Oh boy.
No one saw him do it except for me. It's fine. It's fine, didn't happen. Normal lizardman things.
Gotcha.
So as you're kind of riding up and down the ranks, I think that a group of the knights who fought in like the previous, or the knights and veterans who fought in the previous battle, they start to like join the ranks of the lizardmen, foot soldiers. So essentially, like, the units that are going into battle here are going to be the militia units, the mercenaries, and the lizardmen foot soldiers. The veterans are kind of taking a back seat here because they're still recovering. So if the groups of them come to you, Kree, what would you turn them away?
No. I mean, we're going to need everyone we can. The more we have, the less casualties in the end. I would just make sure they're in the back as much as possible.
Gotcha. So you're like, are you forming them up in their own little groups, or are you integrating them with the lizardmen?
They have to be integrated, or else it'll seem like I'm favoring them, and that would be bad for morale.
Gotcha. So yeah, you throw a couple in the squads that are perhaps short from previous engagements.
Which there are many of.
Which, yeah, there are many of course. So as you're doing all of this, I think that there's a group of people that are kind of observing this from afar, and you've been keeping your eye on them for some time now, and you recognize them to be some of the various religious people in the armies, some of the priests and priestesses of the varying deities, but I think that standing amongst them, you recognize one individual who's clad in a bright red robe, and is carrying a shepherd's crook. And maybe you do, or maybe you don't remember who this is. Obviously, as players, we should. But we see that the High Inquisitor has returned and is watching you form these lizards up with these men and putting them in places of subservience to the great men and women of, or put them in subservience to lizards, but in the Inquisitor's eyes, putting the great men and women of the Empire below anything else is probably heresy.
Probably.
And so I think that you see eventually he turns and like walks off, and his little troop follows him. And as we see like his little troop following him, I think, Aelin, you're making some preparations, and like there's that pass by moment, right, where like maybe you come out of a tent with like some supplies, and like the Inquisitor walks by you, and there's that like silent moment where it's like in slow motion a little bit, as the Inquisitor walks by you with like his little troop of people. Do you say anything or greet him?
I think I chill kind of runs down Aylin's spine, and I think she shows deference. I don't think she speaks.
Yeah, just like bow
Tries
the
to
head
get
a
out
little
of
bit.
yeah, bows her head slightly and just tries to not be in his way.
Yeah, and I think that he doesn't notice you. Some of his troop might notice you, and that's troop with a U, by the way. But he doesn't. He has purpose and is heading. And I think Aelin, you can tell he's headed in the direction of where Cahill is. And as you continue to gather your supplies for your journey, your family reunion, we see. I think that we see him pass next by Morella, perhaps, as you're like leaving Cahill. And you know, you walk out the door and you take a deep breath of fresh air, and he comes walking up and enters through the door. And you see that like the group of people behind him, they close the door, and then a couple of them kind of stand in front of it, as to like bar people's way in. You see the guards kind of like look at each other with kind of this strange tone, but also they don't want to mess with the Inquisitor. That's grounds for being burnt alive. And I think that probably as that happens too, Jericho, you're like arriving. Maybe Hannibal too, if you're there with him. You're arriving at the place where Cahill is, and you see Morella kind of standing out there, like just watching what happened. And you see the priestly guards on the door, barring entry into the building.
Yeah, and as I see you two's coming, there's just a wry grin coming across my face as I say, "Well, we have company."
It appears so.
Not really the welcome kind, but slightly better than the hordes of the undead.
You know, I'm not so sure about that.
Not actively trying to kill us. Well, we have good news.
Not
What about
actively
you?
trying to kill you, but anyways.
You have good news?
Yes.
What about?
The Count is alive.
And being held, possibly in
the palace day.
Beneath the palace, possibly somewhere else in the city, but definitely alive.
That might
she just
change.
simply nods at that, and she says, "You might have to wait if you want to tell Cahill. The Inquisitor is here."
Yup.
So, and I kind of like start walking off a bit, and I just say, "Where do you think he is, the Count?" And a more hushed tone.
I mean, we've recovered most of the city. Hannibal said that he was in some kind of dungeon, which the palace obviously doesn't have, but they could just chain him up in a basement. It wouldn't be that different.
It's also pretty odd that there was a room with the pillar in the middle. That in itself is odd.
Well, I mean, architecturally, it's not the most advanced technique I've ever heard of, but it's a good stabilizing method.
It is, but it shows that he's probably underground then.
Well, that is where you pretend to put a dungeon, right?
Yeah, that's why I thought dungeon.
I'm not... Oh, Lord, is this about you thinking... Oh, never mind.
Look,
you know what this is about.
Do I ever?
Anyways, so you believe he's in the palace. Good, because we're heading there.
That's our best guess. What's still left to be done before we can move?
We need to wait for the organization of the mercenaries. For one thing.
Yes. That's and to tell Cahill and, well, to simply gather. It won't be long. We have but a few hours, most likely.
Yeah, and I think that, like, as you say that, you, like, gaze up at the sun as it's slowly descending on the horizon, and, perhaps a few more minutes pass, and then eventually we see the Inquisitor leaves the building where Cahill is, giving you kind of the go ahead to enter Jericho and Hannibal, to inform Cahill of the news.
Does he give the Inquisitor knows who I am, right?
Yeah, no, he knows who all of you are, basically. With the exception of Jericho. He doesn't know who Jericho is, right?
He knows about what my family does.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
And he's still being civil, so I guess I'll be too.
Yeah, so like there's the one thing, well, to be fair, like probably Inquisitors had a hand in what happened to your family, to be completely honest.
One way or another.
Yeah, one way or another. There's probably
if it
some
involves the
correlation
Chaos Inquisitors involved with it.
Yeah, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So Jericho and Hannibal, as you guys enter into the building, you see Cahill is like pinching the bridge of his nose. He clearly has a headache of some sort. And he opens one eye to look at you as you come in, and he greets you with a smile, and he says, some welcome company at last.
Welcome company with good news.
Good news is just the thing I would like to hear. Tell me.
The Count's alive.
Yeah, he nods, and he says, this is wonderful news. Where?
We believe
We're working
in the
on that.
palace. He's in... We might need to talk to Lady Tolsbeck. If she's been into the palace, she might be able to identify if this is a room in it.
I can have her summoned immediately.
That would be very helpful.
Very well. Well, this is more wondrous than I could have hoped. Alive, you say? Not injured? Maimed?
He's not missing any limbs, but he's definitely not off well right now. There didn't appear to be any food around him or water, so and I don't know how long he's been where he is.
Well, if the stories of the White Wolf are true, his endurance will hold firm. Have faith.
Still probably best not to keep him waiting for too long.
Agreed. I had possibly wanted to wait until morning, but I realized that the time grows short. Does it change our plans at all if we make the assault at night? Does it benefit
anything,
or hurt us?
For something like that, we need to consider the capabilities of our enemies. What I know of demons are or like what's we're facing, if a majority of them have dark vision.
Yeah, I think almost standard issue demons have dark vision. Almost traditionally.
Okay.
But remember, there weren't a whole lot of demons in the city. And undead don't like have vision in the same way that we do, right? Like skeletons don't see things like we do. They kind of have a sensory perception of what goes on around them.
Yeah, and for demons, the demons are outside the city, not that I think about it.
Right, correct.
And what we're mainly facing in this place is elites and...
Yeah, like the elite Norsemen that have survived, probably some undead. There's probably still some ranging necromancers around that might have been pulled into the city. But yeah, I think it's mostly human, I would say, that you're facing off against right now.
Considering that's mostly human, we'll be on rather even terms either way. The only real problem would be if they have a majority of dark vision, people with dark vision. However, considering that our enemy is mostly human, that shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Then I will inform the troops to bring more fire than is necessary. Would that be sufficient?
Very.
And I believe that as soon as the mercenaries are ready, we should begin.
Alright then.
Especially with new complications having arrived.
Oh. If I don't mean to be too forward, but complications that affect this war.
He kind of like waves his hand and he says, it is but the High Inquisitor. He did not appreciate our handling of things inside the temple. I politely informed him that if he was there himself, he could have handled it differently, but you know how these types are.
Speaking of the temple, we need to decide what to do with Kree.
Yes. I was mindful enough to keep my mouth shut to the Inquisitor about those things when we spoke. Have we noticed any other signs?
We've seen his thing, right?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't think anyone but Farron's seen it, right?
Yeah,
How hard is it not to notice a giant fucking sea serpent creature?
fair. I think that for the sake of it, you've probably seen it.
Yeah.
Whether or not you've had a conversation about it, you've definitely seen it.
Yes.
As Dalton says, it's pretty hard to avoid.
True.
Yes, his creature seems to change. And now can I make a retroactive? Can I make a check, like a history check or history?
This would be nature.
Nature, okay.
Yeah, it'd be nature because this is a very natural thing that occurs. Especially when dealing with the way that rangers operate, and spirits
also,
in the spirit world and all that other fun stuff.
Really, really weird question. Who of them would know that this is knocked? This might not be knocked.
The thing that's following you around isn't knocked.
I mean,
it might not be.
Yeah, right. So the nature check is to understand maybe what it is or what it has become. It's obviously Kree's new pet, but it may not necessarily be knocked. You wouldn't know that.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't know it's knocked for sure, but we know you have a giant lizard thing.
I'm gonna use my Tides of Chaos on that.
Sure. Yeah, 22.
Ooh.
So you know that probably certain natural experts like rangers and druids can summon beasts from wherever they came. I think that your knowledge of it is typically that the summoner has control over what they bring forth most of the time. There are edge cases in which the spirit they're trying to summon takes on a form that it likes the most. But reasonably, since no one has tried to kill it, and also it's interacting with Kree in such a manner, it is probably his familiar equivalent of some sort, right? You could equate it to Dane, probably. Just it is a natural beast as opposed to an arcane one.
Yes, but would the fact that its form has changed so drastically? Let me rephrase my question. What is my gut telling me about this creature?
So, definitely a change in form is not common.
But it's also especially unsettling considering.
Yeah, no, the appearance of the creature itself, just the physical attributes of it, aren't friendly looking. You know what I mean? It's not like Bernadette is a scary creature, but it's also a trained bear and has some redeemable qualities that it's soft.
Alright.
I mean, with that state of mind, nothing has changed.
This creature, and even Noct, I think to a degree, right? Even your time with Noct, Hannibal, would kind of clue you into the fact that Noct had a playful side and was a scary looking dragon, but also wasn't terrifying. This creature is terrifying.
Okay, so I would definitely say, have you seen the creature that now follows him?
I think Cahill's face darkens, and he says, "Heard rumors. Yet to lay eyes on it myself."
Well, I haven't heard any problems with it. Its appearance definitely doesn't bode well.
Well, as far as I am aware, he will be participating in the battle with us at the front gates. I will assign some members of my contingent to keep an eye on him.
That'd probably be for the best.
I will select only trusted lieutenants. There's no need to widen the circle at this time.
It's at such a critical point. It feels It makes me nervous to have a variable so close to the end.
It also makes me nervous to send one away so close to the end, where perhaps we would not have control over it.
True. Well, I believe that's the end of my discussion.
Well,
Jericho, you want to go at this? You got anything you
Anheuser,
want to ask?
how are you feeling? We are, as Hannibal says, so very close. I understand that this is your hometown?
Yes. Until, well, less than 2 years ago, I don't think I had really ever set foot outside. I'm eager to see this done. If we're going to be ready to move this night, I'd be itching to get started.
Yes, as will we all. I must prepare myself. And you as well. I wish you both luck. And may Sigmar guide your blades.
Does that catch me at all?
What do you mean?
That doesn't seem really... Isn't that a weird thing to say from him?
So, yes, you know that he is not like a particularly devout individual, which is actually like one of his failings as an emperor. Roll an insight check. We'll see what catches you about it.
Okay.
I mean, I can tell you flat out that Jericho's response to that is also going to be, and may Shalia protect you.
So gonna roll this. Not gonna do great, I don't think. Probably not.
It's a 12. It's not bad. Yeah, he appears to be saying it like almost as a habitory. This is what I'm supposed to say. You know what I mean? Like, if he's trying to be the emperor, this is what he's supposed to say to a warrior going into battle.
All right, it's kind of obvious that that catches Hannibal a little off guard.
Yeah,
from him.
And I think that at your response to that, Jericho, he kind of smiles and he gets that boyish grin on his face, and he says, "Yes, well, I don't think that I could be separated from her if I tried anymore.
Don't worry. The Most Holy will be with you." Hannibal kind of snickers a little bit.
I mean, I think Jericho might be looking around as if expecting to see Aelin hovering nearby.
Materialize from the ether. So, cool. Awesome. You all make your departure and we get the time lapse, right? So, barring any last minute preparations, I think that it is safe to say perhaps we should start the next session in Media Re with all of the prospective engagements going on.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Now,
by the way,
here's the bad news.
What's up?
So next Friday is my birthday.
Oh,
yay!
So I will not be running a game because I don't know what I'm doing. It probably at this point is going to consist of going and getting very drunk. That's pretty much my only option available to me.
In the tradition of your people.
In the tradition of my true Scotsman pride, yes. Going and getting tremendously drunk.
Hi!
So there's that. And then the next weekend after is the wedding that I will be a part of. So it's going to be 2 weeks off for us.
Yeah.
Whew. It's going to be a long 2 weeks.
So,
yeah, that's cool. But however, it's a holiday week, which means...
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
but by the way, 100% was not kidding about the RAM and the Molotovs. Just,
oh yeah.
Just so
no, that's fine. That's fine. I can't wait to see New Noct in action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Also,
It's going to be good.
so standard experience.
Yeah, everybody gets 1,500 experience for today.
Also, happy early birthday.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
You
know, I didn't
congrats on
realize
your parents having sex.
What?
Your parents had sex 9 months before this date.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
It may have also happened
Well,
at some other times.
Actually, 10 months.
Correct. Thank you. I appreciate that you've only been here for an hour and you already made me laugh.
I do what I can.
Yeah, I do appreciate that. So yeah, unfortunately 2 weeks off, but I having 3 games now is a little bit harder for me to do story time, but I'm gonna try and do it early so that I just have it ready to go because I have a lot of time on my hands right now. So
Cool.
so we'll have that. And it'll be
I never
fun.
realized that your birthday was a weeks before my brother's.
Yeah,
So.
I think we talked about that last year. To be fair, I think
Yeah.
like that was a conversation we had. I remember that.
Mhm.
But one more brief note is I think that perhaps during story time I might hint to things that maybe we can go to in the future when we're done.
Ooh.
We'll see that because
Neat.
this truly is, and I listen.
I mean, what,
I know that I've said this like 300 times now.
We're approaching the end.
But this is really like the final act. However long it takes you guys to either fail at destroying the palace, saving the city, or succeed at the palace and saving the city. Whichever one of those things comes first, that will be the end
Of this campaign?
Of this campaign. Then of this arc. And then we will have our normal
discussion
about where we go from here.
Mhm.
So
I hear there's supposed to be something going on involving vampires.
Yeah, I don't know
and
where I
there
heard
is-
this.
I have considered many things, one of them including a not setting change, but a location change. A drastic location change.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Intriguing.
the Badlands.
I've already got my
To-
character all fucking ready to go.
Yeah,
and
to-
made him.
To perhaps somewhere that will allow us to play like a different. I mean, because you all know this world is it's every setting, right? Like there's the African Middle Eastern part, there's the Gregorian part, there's the Norse Viking part.
Yep.
It's all different
Right.
all different things that we can. So I have some ideas, and we'll talk about those when we get to them. But first, let's kill Anders. Possibly next week, but probably not. You guys have a lot to kind of wade through in the palace. It's going to be
It's probably gonna take us another 2. if
two
not 3
at minimum, I think. At minimum.
Yeah.
So.
2 at minimum. 4 at most, I want to believe.
Yeah. Hopefully we can just be done by the end of
The year.
the year. That would be great.
Yep.
Mhm.
Cool. Thank you guys for being here. I'm going to do outro, and it was wonderful to
Wait,
see you all.
experience.
You got experience
Hold
1500.
Sorry,
Inspiration.
inspiration.
Good call. Inspiration. You guys get to vote 2, and I'll vote 1. Anybody have any
Aaron.
suggestions?
Farron.
Aaron,
What, are we
I'm
giving him
sorry.
another penny inspiration? Good
No,
God.
no. This is
No,
this one is
no.
legitimate.
Legitimate. No,
Yeah.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, like
I mean,
the
yes, it was a sad thing that happened, but his reaction and whatnot, like that's not...
the conscious decision that he has more responsibility than his heart has
Mhm.
is a cool character thing.
Yeah.
So, Farron, congratulations.
Can I vote for a second inspiration? And this one is pity for Farron.
He gets double inspiration.
Congratulations, Farron. You have a single inspiration. We're just gonna lump those 2 in together. Anyone else you guys think?
Just on the single? The single?
I'm just gonna go for Aelin.
Yeah.
Why?
I really want to see the end of the sister arc.
Oh, you just want to
That's
see
what I
a
would
girl
want.
fight. That's it. That's all
Yeah.
you want.
And we
No,
have been waiting
no.
to find out what the hell Aelin's deal has been for a long time. So this is
Also, may or may not want to see Aelin hit someone with a mace.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That probably won't happen. But personally, I would go with Hannibal for this one. I feel like he did a lot, especially with that scrying and things of that sort, because he opened a lot of interesting RP, such as getting the mercenary captain and things of that sort.
That's true. I agree with that. I think that Aelin and Hannibal are probably the next 2, like the other 2. Since we had to vote for Aelin, because mine was going to go to Hannibal for the awesome, like, wanting to find somebody at the mercenaries and the scrying, and I think that was really cool what she did today, Jackson. So you can have my inspiration.
So
Cool.
Go team.
All right, go team. Gonna do outro. I will see you all in a couple of weeks.
no, it's gonna
Bye,
be a little
stream.
It's gonna be hard.
stream.
Okay, goodbye, everybody.
stream.
All right, guys. We are done for the night. I'm glad you all could be here. My thumb hurts like a bitch. So I'm gonna go. I've been instructed that I need to put a band-aid on it, so I'm gonna go try and find one of those. But from all of you, thank you all for coming out today. Episode 10 is concluded. Stay tuned for episode 11 and 12 and 13 and maybe even 14. We'll see how long it takes, but it shouldn't be that long. We'll see. I'm gonna try and definitely get people into the final act here, or the final couple of sessions. So I'm excited. The end is approaching, and I'm excited for all y'all to be here. Thank you all for that as well, and we will talk to you next time. Siege of Middenheim. See ya. Bye.